Good morning, friends and enemies. This is the Week 12 game-by-game recap for fantasy football. If you are new here, hello. Welcome to hell. I do this every single Monday around noon Eastern time. We just go game by game through the box scores, through the stats, through the routes run, through all the good stuff, letting y'all know what you need to know from the weekend of games as it pertains to fantasy football. We're talking injuries. We're talking depth charts. We're just talking a talk out here, all right? So thank you guys for joining me today. We will hop right into Thursday night football. We've got the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. The Texans rip off their third straight win with Davis Mills under center here. So they go to 6-5. The Bills are 7-4. On the Bills side of things, James Cook comes through. Khalil Shakir is a big day. As always, that's just what Shakir does, Like, he's going to finish as the wide receiver 30. He's going to have really bad games like we saw last week. He's going to have really good games like we saw this week. So if you're trying to predict them, it's going to be whack-a-mole for you. The higher up in your lineup he has to be, the more the inconsistency is going to hurt you, obviously. If he's just like your second flex, then you don't really have to worry too much about him. Just leave him in there. Don't think about it. But you could tell that it's finally catching up to Josh Allen, just the lack of playmakers that he has at the wide receiver position and just in this offense overall. So he needs Dalton Kincaid back. I don't think he'll miss too much more time with the hamstring injury. So we'll see about that. But yeah, bad game for Josh Allen, obviously. Two interceptions here. He gets sacked 8 times. Houston's defense is just clicking on all cylinders. CJ Stroud, I believe, should be back next game. We do have Woody Marks continuing to dominate as the number one in the backfield here. 16 carries to Nick Chubb's 6s. I think Woody Marks just been, consistently involved, but just not a very, very high-end producer right now. Kind of needs a touchdown to get him over the edge. I think he's a fine low-end RB2 flex play for you. This should have been a good matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Like on paper, he should have smashed. You talk about a guy getting 16 carries, seeing the majority of touches, etc. And it's kind of unfortunate that this was the day that he had. But I think process-wise, he's still like a solid flex play for you. The only other takeaway I'd have here from the receiver position is that Jaden Higgins has clearly moved into the wide receiver 2 role. Let's go take a look at the snap counts over here for the Texans. Now, in week 12, we saw Jaden Higgins run up 68% of the routes here. Nico Collins at 77%. So he's clearly taken that wide receiver 2 role here. He's, that obvious second half of the year rookie breakout is kind of upon us right now. 32% target share in this one. 13.3 ADOT is healthy. 51% of the air yards here. 40% of the end zone targets. So Higgins, say what you want about Davis Mills going 3-0. Like, yeah, I'd rather have CJ Stroud at quarterback. And I think if he's running, the second most routes here behind Nico Collins, he's kind of like the perfect complement to Nico. He had 9 targets in this one. Not a huge, overly productive yardage day, but he did get into the end zone again. That's his 4th touchdown of the season as a rookie. They have 2 tough matchups over the next 2 weeks. They're at Indy. They're at KC. But then they get Arizona and Las Vegas at home in weeks 15 and 16. So if he continues to be a 70, 75, 80% route guy, he's someone that might be flex worthy towards the end of the season here. Moving into the Sunday slate, we have the Bears beating up on the Steelers, 31-28. Shouldn't even say beating up, but it was a very, very close game. Steelers could have came back and won this one here, but the Bears end up covering the spread there. 2.5 points, 8-3 on the year. No Aaron Rodgers in this one. Very split backfield here between Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. Warren 18 for 68 on the ground, scores a touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell still very, very much involved. 16 touches in this one, goes for 120 from scrimmage. Let's take a look at how the snaps are actually split up here. It's just a very clear divide between their 2 roles, and Gainwell might even have a little bit more of a valuable role considering the fact that he does get carries on top of it, So the snap count was actually in favor of Gainwell, 52-49. It might have been a little bit of an ankle thing coming back from it, Jaylen Warren, of course, but he did get most of the rushing attempts in this one, 53% to 29% for Kenneth Gainwell. No surprise, but Gainwell still laps him in terms of routes run. We have 19-11, sees a bunch of targets, gets all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it is very much a split backfield. Both guys obviously need to be owned. I'd still rather own Warren going forward. But yeah, in non-obvious matchups where you can run the ball, it might be geared a little bit more towards Kenneth Gainwell. DK Metcalf was kind of in and out of this game. with some lower body injuries. Did finish out the game, though, so I don't expect any long-term misses. Not that, like, if you had him in your lineup, you're going to be missing him regardless, but we should have Aaron Rodgers, I believe, back for their Week 13 game. No teams on bye in Week 13, so big week coming up, Thanksgiving. On the Bears side of things, 2 takeaways here. Actually, maybe 3. Almost all concerning rookies. So the Bears went rookie heavy in the draft this year, right? Took Burden, took Loveland, took Kyle Monangai. This was the very first week that Kyle Monangai out-snapped DeAndre Swift, had more carries, had more touches, had more snaps, was more involved. That being said, it was still completely just a drive-by-drive split here for the two of them. This was not an overtaking in the backfield. Swift did fumble, but it just so happened to be that the drives that Kyle Monangai was in on, they were longer drives. Was he better on the ground in this one? Yes, but there's been plenty of games where Swift was a lot better. So this, to me, does not signal changing of the guard, but it just signals the theme that's kind of been going on for the last month or so, is they are a 50-50 split in terms of drives. And whoever's in on the longer drives, whoever's in on the lucky drives where they get down to the end zone, etc., that's pretty much who's going to end up having a bigger day. So it's not as much that I'm like overly enthusiastic about Monangai, like how everyone was about Bashal Tutin last week, but it definitely makes me nervous to have to start DeAndre Swift. And I feel like this is kind of like a week-to-week play. And the scary part is Chicago's schedule over the next 5-6 weeks is fucking brutal. They get the Eagles. They're in Philly next week. I think that's the Black Friday game. They're in Green Bay the week after that. They play Cleveland and then Green Bay again. And then week 17, they're at San Francisco. So San Francisco is actually the weakest defense, but that's not until week 17, and they're on the road. So really tough slate. It's going to be difficult to decide who to start in that backfield. I think for the most part, I'm probably still going to be leaning DeAndre Swift in my rankings, but they're going to be close to back-to-back going forward. For all the talk that happened throughout the week about Luther Burden getting more run, he did. He still ended up playing only around 60% of the snaps in this one, or running 60% of the routes in this one, because he's still behind DJ Moore. He's still behind Rome Odunze. I know it's exciting to see him make plays. He's finally jumped Olamide Zaccheaus. Feels like it's a long time overdue. Problem is, like, again, he if he's a 60% snap guy and they have that schedule that I just mentioned here, Philly, Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, San Francisco, like, I don't really have an upside case for you for Burden. He would need more Rome Odunze to get hurt. One of those guys to get hurt for him to have like a real role in this offense, because we also see Loveland taking more of a role here too. Finally jumped up to 70% of the routes. Had a big game, but honestly, still with Cole Kmet running half the routes, I don't know that I'm like overly optimistic that Loveland's an every week starter here going forward. So they're getting the rookies involved. They all had good games against the Steelers defense, but am I overly optimistic about any of them going forward? Not really, as like surefire fantasy guys. Just so happened that DJ Moore ended up scoring the 2 touchdowns here. It could have easily gone to Burden or Rome Odunze or whoever, but it didn't. And I think that's kind of like reminiscent of what the Bears offense has kind of been all year. It's just different guys kind of having big games, whether it's Swift or Monangai or Loveland or Rome or Moore or whatever. There's just a lot of guys that can make plays in this offense, which makes them a very tough sit-start decision for the most part. Patriots-Bengals. Patriots escaped here 26-20 over the Bengals. Drake May had a pretty bad game in this one, at least relative to what he's been doing all year. Now, big news on the injury front for the Patriots. Will Campbell is going to be sidelined for multiple weeks. They also just lost an interior offensive lineman as well with an ankle sprain that's going to be out for, I think he's week to week as well. So that was their weak point last year, and it was brutal for like Jacoby Brissett and Drake May when he was back there last year. So they're going to be challenged on the offensive side of things going forward. The Patriots are. They play, they play the New York Giants in week 13, so not a tough matchup. Then they get a bye, Buffalo, Baltimore, New York Jets. So not a crazy slate of games, but yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of a struggle without their offensive line, especially Will Campbell. Now the backfield, this is Ramondre's first game back here. Trevin Henderson still dominated the touches, still dominated the carries, dominated most of the work back here. Didn't score a touchdown. They just kept rotating guys on the goal line here. Terrell Jennings got a goal line carry. Ramondre Stevenson got multiple goal line carries, just converted it into absolutely nothing. It seems like they want to roll with Trayvon Henderson a little bit more over Ramondre, but I still think it's probably a little bit more due so to the fact that it's Ramondre's first game back from the turf toe. So we'll have to see what that split looks like with the Giants game next week. you're still rolling Henderson over Ramondre, obviously. And I think Henderson, you look at a guy that just got 21 touches again, even with Ramondre back, he's still a pretty solid running back too, especially in a matchup against the Giants next week that were just fucking torched, set on fire by Jahmyr Gibbs, a guy that, similar-ish play style to TreVeyon Henderson here. So good news for TreVeyon Henderson in the backfield. On the flip side, T. Higgins, the biggest takeaways here, T. Higgins gets a concussion. They play on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, so I believe there's pretty much a 0% chance he can clear the concussion protocol, but Jamar Chase will be back for Thursday's game against the Ravens. Those are two games that Jamar Chase went crazy last year in fantasy, so hopefully we get 20 targets for Jamar Chase. It does look like it's trending towards Joe Burrow returning for that Thanksgiving game. They didn't want him to play in this one and then have to turn around 4 days later and play again on Thursday Night Football, so they play Thursday, and then he'll have 10 days of rest until their next game Sunday. Cincinnati, over the next 5 games, great schedule for fantasy. You get Baltimore week 13, Buffalo week 14, Baltimore again in week 15, Miami and Arizona in week 16 and 17 for the fantasy semis and championship. So really good run out for a schedule there. Andre Oshavas, you can start him again, I guess. He's not overly talented. I think the Patriots kind of sold out to stop T. Higgins in this game. No surprise there. I would imagine the Ravens and every team that plays them going forward will do that for Jamar Chase as well. So maybe it opens up a little bit more for Oshavas. But yeah, I'm not overly excited to get him into that lineup. The other thing I will say is literally anyone who's playing the Bengals, you could start their tight ends against them. They have been historically horrific against fantasy tight ends this year. It is so bad. So Mark Andrews next week, great. I'm playing him. Those types of guys. Maybe Kincaid back the week after that. Lions, Giants. Lions also lucky to sneak away with an overtime victory here. You have 1,000 total yards of offense. You've got 61 points scored in this one. And, the story of this game was Jahmyr Gibbs. Over 55 PPR fantasy points. One of the all-time top performances ever in fantasy football. It's kind of interesting. I know, I was talking to 3 people who had Jahmyr Gibbs yesterday, and they all lost their matchups in fantasy, which is, I don't know why that's a weird theme of this week. Obviously very anecdotal and very just, subjective evidence there, but it's ridiculous. If you have a 55 fucking point score, you should never lose a fantasy game. But hi, Reneg. Goff, 279, 2 touchdowns. Really, the only guy who gets home here outside of Gibbs is Amon-Ra St. Brown. If I don't know what to tell you with Jameson Williams. It should have been a good day. It just wasn't a good day. I believe I saw something. It said one of the Giants beat reporters tweeted out that with Paulson and Debo out, they elevated some cornerback. I don't even know his name. I've never even heard of him before, but he shadowed Jameson Williams the entire game. I can't imagine some random cornerback shadowing Jameson Williams was the thing, where this guy's having some crazy breakout. But Jameson Williams was shadowed in this one. And listen, when Jahmyr Gibbs just has fucking 5 plays of 60 yards, those are drive enders. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Just a bad game from Jameson Williams, but continue to fire him up as a nice wide receiver too. On the flip side, probably the last game for Jameis, just an unbelievably fun game from him. Catches that touchdown, the most ridiculous touchdown catch maybe ever. The pass from Gunnar Olszewski or whatever the fuck his name is. Jameis Winston's draped in coverage, still catches the ball, breaks a tackle. That guy's going to be eaten apart in the film room. Good times. Jameson Winston just going down as one of the all-time most likable human beings in history of human history. Just good fucking feels every time that man is on our TV. Tracy, another 23 touches in this game. Huge workload. Gets it done through the air. Ends up going for $130 from scrimmage. Devin Singletary relatively involved, but the story of the game was Wan'Dale Robinson, of course, 9 for 156 and a touchdown. When Jameis Winston is under center and you got a matchup like the Detroit Lions, he was borderline a must start this week. I think he was my wide receiver 20 or something, so felt good. Hodgins is getting involved a little bit, but Darius Slayton, I feel is kind of easing back from the hamstring strain. I don't expect him to be a long-term contributor, but yeah, we move on. But yeah, Jackson Dart should be back next week. Vikings, Packers. Yeah, I don't really have much to tell you on the Viking side of things. J.J. McCarthy is horrendously horrendous right now, and it has absolutely tanked the stock of everyone on the Vikings. No one scores touchdowns. Justin Jefferson is being held to wide receiver 3 status. It's bad over there. For the Packers, Jordan Love didn't have to do much, 14 for 21, because Emmanuel Wilson went crazy. 28 for 107, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 2 for 18 through the air. So he puts up a quick, what is that, like 27 fantasy points for you or so. So huge plug and play for him. They play on Thursday against the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. All accounts point towards Josh Jacobs being back. That being said, I think there's a chance that Emmanuel Wilson gets a little bit of run there. I think there's a chance they don't just put Josh Jacobs back into a 20-touch role here. We saw him, see a little bit of a dip in snap count when he was dealing with the calf strain. So, I think he should be back from the knee thing. Everything, again, that he said is that he's playing on Thursday. Would be, a huge, huge get for Emmanuel Wilson owners if he does not, but I don't expect that to be the case. For the receivers, not much was done here. Christian Watson continues to be kind of the number one now. With Tucker Kraft out. Golden missed this game, but I don't think it should be a long-term absence. And then Jaden Reed should be back any fucking minute now. I don't know when that's going to be. If not Thursday, then it should be in week 14 for Green Bay. Seahawks and Tennessee Titans. This was just the Seahawks. Honestly, the Titans made this a little bit of they made it a game for like a quarter, and then JSN just decided to be like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to play some football today, actually. Darnold, 244, 2 touchdowns. JSN, 8 for 167, 2 touchdowns. Breaks the Seahawks all-time, or the single season receiving yardage mark with his game today. We are in week 12. On pace for 2,000 receiving yards. Ridiculous feat. Biggest fantasy takeaway here is that there was finally a little bit of like a backfield flip here. Kenneth Walker was dominating touches and snaps, at least in the first half, until the 2-minute drill when they put Zach Charbonnet in. But overall, the snap counts finished 64% in favor of Walker, 32% in favor of Zach Charbonnet. Had more carries, ran more routes. I think, you just watch the game and you could see that Walker's a much better player. That being said, inside the 5, 50-50 split there. Still tough to see who ends up getting the touchdown. Charbonnet did get the touchdown in this one, but they'd probably like to use Walker. And I know if you started Walker, you were probably expecting a bigger day. He does go for like 100 from scrimmage, but no touchdown really puts a damper on that one, unfortunately. Seattle next week plays Minnesota, which can definitely be had on the ground. They play Atlanta after that. Could definitely be had on the ground. Indy and then LA Rams in week 15, 16. So a little bit tougher there. But Cam Ward had a pretty good game. The one point out I will have for the Tennessee Titans is that Shamir DK, their rookie, first pick in the 4th round this year by the Titans, had another really good game. His volatility, he's going to be very volatile if Alec Aymaner is playing and they're at full strength in the receiver room. But Alec Aymaner is dealing with a hamstring strain. He was a DNP all of last week, so it does feel like it might be a multi-week absence for him. And in his place, DK is a full-time route runner. He's playing every single snap, goes 5 for 44 and a touchdown in this one, also returns a punt for 90 yards. That is his second punt return touchdown this year. He is really explosive. He's like 6'1", 200 pounds, ran like a 4.35 40-yard dash. Really, really fucking fast, especially given his size. Seeing a lot of targets, and again, Tyler Lockett's in Vegas. Calvin Ridley's out for the season. Alec Aymaner, if he's out for an extended period of time, Shamir DK I actually think is like a really viable flex play given their lack of receivers and their lack of receiving options. Xavier Restrepo, 6 targets in this one. He didn't run a ton of routes, but first time elevated to actual game day action here. He played with Cam Ward at Miami, obviously, a really highly touted undrafted free agent. In this one, so 6 targets. I think like deeper leagues, keep an eye on that one if Aymaner keeps the miss, but yeah, that's it. Colts Chiefs. Somehow the Colts gave this one away in overtime. No massive takeaways on the fantasy side of things from the Colts. Just a pretty bad day from Daniel Jones and the offense overall. The Chiefs defense just really stepped up in this one. Kareem Hunt, baby. 33 fucking touches. That man just rumbled and stumbled and ate his way to, what do you have, 130 total yards, a touchdown, 30 carries. We'll see if Pacheco returns. Pacheco got back to a full practice on Wednesday last week and then didn't end up playing or didn't. Yeah, I don't know if there was a setback or what, but I do think it made sense last week. Kareem Hunt was running well, and then it felt like their game plan should have been to at least try to allow him to establish a little bit of a run game here, and they did, and he had a big game. Rashee Rice didn't do much early on, but ended up finishing with a huge game because they just had to pass the ball a million times in the second half. 8 for 141, 12 targets. Nothing much else to take away here. It's really just Rashee Rice and then pick your poison of who's going to have a good receiving game. Kelsey's been relatively consistent, but for right now, the only real takeaways are whether or not Kareem Hunt maintains that role. They play Dallas next week. Dallas is obviously a very, very soft run defense, but they've looked a lot better as of late since they made those trades and put Quinnen Williams' ass in the middle of that defensive line, which should not be a surprise to anyone. But if Pacheco is out again, which, again, I don't expect that to be the case, like he should be back this week, they should, I mean, they're playing Dallas, so that means that has to be a Thanksgiving game, no? Who are the Thanksgiving games? I should know that. It's almost like I do this shit for a living. Yep. So Packers-Lions is the first game on Thanksgiving. Chiefs at Cowboys, second game. Bengals at Ravens. All right, short week. Short week, it's possible that the Chiefs don't have Pacheco, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, those 3 games. So anyone on the injury reports there. Jacobs on the short week. Pacheco on the short week. Who else got banged up? Anyone else, really? Nah, no one else. T. Higgins is going to be out because of concussion on a short week. So we'll see. We shall see. Moving on to Ravens at Jets. Yeah, I mean, just a disgusting game all around by, honestly, both teams. Tyrod, whatever, Breece Hall, 4 for 75 through the air, so he saves your day if you're in PPR leagues, but overall 110 from scrimmage, 120 from scrimmage, no touchdowns, unsurprisingly. The receivers here. So with Garrett Wilson out, we're seeing John Mechie and Adonai Mitchell run full-time routes here. As you can see, they're both like 90% route guys right now. Now, a couple things I'll point out. Over the last 2 weeks, we have Adonai running 75%. We have John Mechie running 82%. Adonai Mitchell has out-targeted John Mechie 13-10 in that time. The difference here is this. Like, it's easy to make fun of Adonai Mitchell, and he can't catch the ball, and he does all this dumb shit. But the real story is this, that John Mechie's ADOT is 6.5 yards downfield. Adonai Mitchell's is 22.5. He's got 62% of the team's air yards and 100% of the team's end zone targets since being activated 2 weeks ago. And because his targets are so far downfield, his catchable target rate dips to 54%. Like, if you're getting targets and only 54% of them are deemed catchable, it's not entirely your fault. So I think that's another reason why, like, I could see this production kind of flip. That being said, and it's crazy to say this, but I do think they're both probably worth being rostered. Adonai Mitchell's now put together back-to-back strong games, has scored a touchdown in back-to-back games. The Jets will continue to trail basically every team they play. They get a couple solid matchups over the next few weeks. They get Atlanta and Miami at home back-to-back, Jacksonville, and then they're at the New Orleans Saints, which is indoors in the Dome, obviously. So depending on when Garrett Wilson gets back, I mean, listen, these guys aren't going to be like top 35 guys for me, but I do think, you know, in a pinch, you could start one of these guys. On the flip side, Lamar continues to struggle. He's not really running, not running successfully, not making a lot of plays. Do we want to say it's still the hamstring hurting him? Possibly. I don't really have a good explanation here for you. I think he's missing some throws that he's really uncharacteristically not used to missing. They are now tied for the first place spot in the AFC North and are going to win this division, of course, and they get the Bengals, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Patriots, and the Packers over the next 5-ish weeks through week 17. So good schedule. You know, it's obviously not great for them right now, but I'm not really hesitant to start Lamar against the Bengals in 2 of their next 3 matchups. Derrick Henry, you continue to run him out there. Zay Flowers, he's a high floor guy, so kind of is what it is. Browns Raiders. Shador. Shout out to Shador, man. He's I as much flack as he gets for being like the level of quarterback he is, I actually think he's a likable person. I actually really do think he's a likable person. And I do like Sanders, and I'm glad he got the win. That being said, he didn't really do much. He had probably like 2 or 3 really nice throws, and you have to give him that for sure. The rest of it was, you know, a lot of playmaking after the catch. Dylan Sampson, the 66-yard touchdown catch and run. The shot to Isaiah Bond was beautiful. That was honestly one of the throws of the year. Quarterback irrelevant. That was beautiful. But it was Judkins scoring 2 touchdowns there. It was the big play from Sampson. So it was the Raiders defense, which is bad. So let's not go crazy here, obviously, with Shador Sanders. But good to see him get a win. 11 completions. Judkins getting back into the end zone twice was good to see, obviously. But realistically, you can't trust any of the pass catchers here as long as Shador's starting for Cleveland, which we don't know because last week Stefanski said as long as Dylan Gabriel is healthy and clears protocol, he's going to be the starting quarterback. Shador goes out and wins a game. It kind of feels like you almost have to start him again, right? Just see what you have. They have San Francisco at home next week, so I don't think it's going to matter who's under center for him. It's going to be a tough game, although San Francisco's defense is kind of shit right now. So we'll have to see who's the starter. Regardless, it's like I'm not excited about anyone playing. I will say Harold Fannin ran about 80% of the routes in this one, which was a season high with David Njoku being healthy. And a season low for David Njoku while he was healthy, and you could see the disparity here. This could just be a Shador thing, of course. But I do think Dylan Gabriel loves to use his tight end, so if Fannon's running 80% of the routes and Njoku takes a dip down there, Fannon could be a top 10, 12 guy going forward if Gabriel's under center there. Just something else to throw on your radar if you're looking for a streaming tight end right now. Also, should just interject here and throw this in. If you are watching and you want access to this beautiful, beautiful website with snaps and targets per out run and routes run percentage, all that kind of stuff. This is Fantasy Life, fantasylife.com, the utilization report, one of the best tools in all of fantasy football. You can go get a Fantasy Life Plus subscription, pretty damn cheap. You get it for a full calendar year. You get 20% off if you use code BDGE when you do sign up for a subscription on the website, all right? So go hit fantasylife.com, go get a subscription, use code BDGE when you do so, and you'll get 20% off the subscription price. And you will be a significantly better fantasy football player. I promise y'all. Flip side, Geno Smith literally takes 10 sacks. It's unbelievable. Has to be a season high on the year for any quarterback. Myles Garrett, another 3. He's up to 18. Ridiculous. Genty still struggling behind the offensive line, but he's so involved in the passing game at this point that it doesn't matter. 8 for 58 through the air and a touchdown. So he continues to get as much work in the passing game as pretty much any running back in the NFL, not named Christian McCaffrey right now. So he continues to be a guy that you could start, obviously, just based off of that, and Geno Smith having to throw the ball a ton of times. Brock Bowers, unfortunately, I think it's just a product of this offense right now. You're going to get a lot of, really uninspiring games out of Brock. 6 for 55 in this one, coming off of a decent game last week, but that feels like it's been the case more often than not, so. Jaguars and Cardinals. Trevor Lawrence, 4 turnovers here, 3 interceptions, lost fumble, but they still win in overtime. And, you got to kind of give it up to Liam Cohen just getting this shit done. I would say the trade for Jacoby Myers has been a huge win for them, despite them giving up, a decent amount of draft capital for a guy that they might not even resign next year, an older veteran. But he's been really good for them since he's stepped on the field, made a difference, especially while they're dealing with a bunch of injuries at wide receiver. Brenton Strange, honestly, a decent amount to take away here. So the backfield split, people were very, very hyped about Bashal Tutin after last week's game where he got more carries than ETN before getting hurt. And then he suits up in this one despite the ankle sprain from last week. And maybe this was an ankle thing, but ETN was also playing really well. So 5.7 yards per carry. This is the problem with the Jacksonville backfield getting overly hyped about anyone, is they just do the hot hand approach. And this week it was ETN, 15 for 86 on the ground, played great. Bashal Tutin just 7 for 17. So in that case, you're not going to give him a lot of touches. So it was completely ETN's backfield again. I want to say he played on 70 to 75% of the snaps in this one. 64% to 21% for Tutin, 15% for Allen. So, yeah, still dominated by ETN. He's still definitely the guy to own in that backfield. I would hold on to Tutin. I don't think he's playable right now, but he's obviously very, very high-end handcuff at this point, which are, there's 20 of them at this rate of the season. The other big storyline here was Brenton Strange's return. He's been on the IR for fucking forever, but he comes back 5 for 93, making big plays. He's obviously a very big part of this passing offense. So if you need a tight end and he's on the waiver wire, he's a pretty damn good pickup. I will say a lot of teams are just shredding the Cardinals through the air at this point, so it could be a defense thing. But Jacksonville gets Tennessee next week. They get Indy, then they get the New York Jets. So 3 pretty good matchups for tight ends over the next couple of weeks. Brian Thomas Jr. is expected to return in week 13. He's been practicing for 3 straight weeks. Just get onto the fucking field, my guy. So we'll have to see how the targets disperse. It will be a little bit more little bit more difficult to predict these targets now with Brian Thomas Jr. back, with Brenton Strange back. It's like, between them two, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, the running backs, like who really gets the upside days? I don't know. I don't know. I think they're all going to take a little bit of a hit with all the target competition there. On the flip side, Jacoby Brissett, another 50 attempts, 317 through the air. Backfield still a mess. We are hoping that Trey Benson can come back next week. If he does, I expect him to be a relatively strong RB2. Like, I think he gets a shit ton of work. They play Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. They do get the Rams and then Houston over the 2 weeks after that, so that's brutal. But then they get Atlanta and Cincinnati in 16 and 17, so that's a great playoff schedule for Trey Benson if he's healthy. If Benson misses another week, I don't hate Bam Knight. He continues to score touchdowns. He's splitting the backfield with Michael Carter, but he is the goal line back there. Wide receivers, Michael Wilson continues to be the absolute GOAT. 15 more targets, 10 catches, 118 yards. We have no reports, no clue about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s return. So if he continues to be out, you continue to fire up Michael Wilson as, honestly, at this point, a high-end wide receiver too. I mean, they play Tampa Bay next week. The over-under that game, well, assuming Baker Mayfield is healthy, we'll have to see with his shoulder injury. If Baker's good to go, this is non-throwing shoulder, so I feel like they could probably just like fucking jab his ass and let him play. If he's there, I'd imagine the over-under in that game is going to be like 50 points at least. So that's another Mike Wilson probably spike game. McBride's a GOAT. Greg Dortch is another very, very viable PPR option now. Scored in back-to-back weeks, 6 catches in back-to-back weeks, running 65, 70% of the routes. With the amount of passing volume Jacoby Brissett is getting on a weekly basis, like, Dortch I think is a flex-worthy option as long as Marvin Harrison Jr. is out. With Marvin Harrison Jr. returning, I think the discussion between him and Michael Wilson is going to be interesting. I do think Wilson probably takes a backseat. It's unfortunate, but I do think it's probably going to happen. I think most of the plays that they're running for him, even though Jacoby Brissett might just really trust Michael Wilson at this point, a lot of the plays that they might be drawing up for him will probably go back into favor of Marvin Harrison Jr., unfortunately. Cowboys, Eagles. What? Oh, nope. That ain't it. Cowboys, Eagles. What a game. Cowboys come back being down 21-0 to win 24-21. The ground game is abysmal in Philly right now. No Lane Johnson. Jalen Hurts does have a really big fantasy day. Two rushing scores, almost 300 through the air and a touchdown. Big day for A.J. Brown. Really good day for Devontae Smith. So if you started either one of them, good for you. Yeah, I mean, it's not great for Philadelphia. I will say the Dallas Cowboys defense has just been a little bit better. They're not like the absolute pushover they've been for the first 10 weeks. Now that they have had some of their players back, now that they have Quinn Williams on the line. We'll see over the next 2 weeks. I mean, they get Kansas City on Thanksgiving, and then they get Detroit. So 2 very high-powered offenses. We'll see how they hold up. But for now, yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what to do with the Philly fucking offense at this point. It's like playing whack-a-mole with the receivers. Good games for them this week, but Dallas secondary. Chicago, they get Chicago on Black Friday. And we'll see what happens to the Chicago defense, because right now they were without their top 3 linebackers. They all missed the game against the Steelers. They were without Jalen Johnson. They were without Kyler Gordon. I think it's possible both of them return for their Black Friday game, but we'll see. For Dallas, I mean, Dak, a beast. Javonte, 20 more carries. Story of the game here has to be George Pickens, though. There's a lot of discourse about Pickens being the number 1 in Dallas right now. CeeDee Lamb just continues to drop too many passes, and George Pickens just continues to be just like the most fun player in fantasy football to watch right now. He's springy. He's got ridiculous hands. He's so good with the ball in his hands after the catch. Just like every time the ball is thrown in his vicinity, he's making the play. So, yeah, I mean, I'm firing both of them up with confidence, obviously, in pretty much every match. This was supposed to be the bad matchup. Remember week 1 where Pickens kind of got shut down and Dallas lost and everything? Like, this was going to be the bad matchup. And they do play Kansas City next week, so that's a tough matchup. But, I mean, obviously you're just starting those guys every single week. It's fucking incredible. I think Pickens might be the wide receiver, too, in fantasy football right now. He is the only receiver outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba that has 1,000 yards on the season. Just what a fucking baller. Falcons, Saints. Falcons win 24-10. We're the GOAT. Literally, the Super Bowl runs through Atlanta this year. I'm just saying this. I'm just going to leave it here. Right now, if you look at all rookies drafted this year, sack leaders, Jalen Walker, number 1 amongst all rookies. James Pierce Jr., number 2 amongst all rookies. We have the 2 highest sack rookies in the game. We literally drafted Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis this year. And the Rams don't even get a top 10 pick back from us. That's embarrassing. Imagine being a Rams fan. Embarrassing. Brutal to be a Rams fan right now and not be a Falcons fan. Thoughts? Yeah, Kirko Chains gets it done. 202 through the air. Bijan, okay day. You would think he would score against the Saints, but just didn't happen there. Darnell Mooney finally had the bounce back game. Just 3 targets, but 3 for 74 and a touchdown. That felt obvious. Like, he's going to run every single route here, and he's going to have some good games with Kirk Cousins against these matchups. Is kind of what I've been saying for most of the week. Like, they get New Orleans, they get the Jets next week. Seattle's tough, but then Tampa Bay, Arizona the weeks after that. So, again, I think, like, Kirk's a viable QB2 in Superflex if you're desperate. And then Darnell Mooney is he's a flex option as well, just because he's going to see a high number of targets. Kyle Pitts, you suck. You're the fucking worst player in the NFL. Saints, Tyler Shuck. Tough outing here, but he does keep the fantasy players relevant. Olave, 13 more targets. Juwan Johnson has a big game. So the biggest story from this side, though, is Alvin Kamara's knee. Apparently, it's looking like an MCL sprain, and they're going to get some MRIs today. From what I've heard, they're not overly concerned with it being like a long-term issue. But it's possible he misses some time. And the tough part is their matchups are so good down the stretch. Like, you couldn't get a better 5-game slate, I don't think. I don't think there's anyone with a better matchup slate going forward. It's Miami in Week 13, Tampa Bay, Carolina, New York Jets, Tennessee. That's from next week through Week 17. So good. In his spot, if Alvin Kamara misses time, Devin Neal is the next guy up, hypothetically. If we look at his player profiler page, he's a rookie this year from Kansas. He's 5'11", 213, kind of unathletic, 4'5'8", even though the speed's not like a huge deal. 6th-round pick. I think he's fine. I didn't love him, but I don't know that it's going to matter if Kamara's out. Devin Neal's a good pass catcher, 5 catches in this one on 7 targets. The tough part about this evaluation is Taysom Hill being here. Like, they're just going to give him an obnoxious, unnecessary number of carries, especially when they're down by the goal line. Like, it'll be all Taysom Hill down there. You could see he out-carried Devin Neal in this one 10-7. Devin Neal definitely needs to be picked up in case the Kamara injury is long-term. He probably would be the next guy up, but we'll see what that backfield split looks like. They might call up someone else. Like, there wasn't another running back who got a touch here, obviously. But they'll probably call someone up from the practice squad or sign a veteran or something like that. But we'll have to wait on news from Alvin Kamara's MRI here. And then last night, Rams-Bucks. As I already said, Baker got banged up. Just an awful... I mean, the Rams are just like... They have to be the Super Bowl favorites at this point. They have the offense that is functioning easily the best right now in the NFL. A defense that... I won't say they're outright the number 1 defense because Houston and Denver are both awesome defenses, but top 3 at worst. You got a top 3 offense, a top 3 defense, the best coach in the NFL. Matt Stafford is playing easily as good as any quarterback in the NFL and probably the best right now. It might not even be close. You got Puka, Devontae Adams playing out of their minds. Like, just insane what the Rams are doing right now. They are so good in every facet of the game. Like, nothing about what they're doing feels fluky at all. They just tore apart the Bucs from start to finish last night. Yeah, Baker left, Teddy Bridgewater came in, and then it was just, the entire second half was just both teams milking clock, trying to get the zeros across the scoreboard there. Sean Tucker did end up out-carrying Rachaad White, got more touches overall, that kind of stuff, but Tucker was like my RB28 in rankings this week. As much as I wanted to buy into the hype over the week, it was just so hard while he was playing against the Rams. And from what we've heard, Todd Bowles came out, and he said he does expect Bucky Irving to play this upcoming week. They play against the Arizona Cardinals at home. Then they get the Saints at home, Atlanta at home, Carolina, Miami. So you want to talk about another really soft playoff schedule. If Bucky's back, and we don't know what the splits are going to look like, I can't imagine they just give Bucky 90% of the snaps coming off of like a 2-month injury. But, I think Tucker should probably remain owned. I think Rachaad White will probably continue to have a pass catching role when Bucky's back, but the schedule is so good. Abuka has really kind of fallen off, honestly, over the last month or so of the season. I think there's a lot of defensive pressure on him. Godwin did return, didn't do shit. 2 catches, 9 yards. Tez Johnson, 3 for 21, does get into the end zone again. Had another play overturned that looked like a clear catch to me, but whatever. Yeah, just not a great run out from the Bucs. This is when you just burn the tape. Biggest news will be whether or not Baker Mayfield can suit up going forward. Because if it's Teddy, I mean, this offense is going to struggle even in a game at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Flip side, I think the only takeaway I would have here is with Tyler Higbee on the IR, the Rams have been running that 13 personnel at a crazy high clip where it's 3 tight ends on the field. With Higbee out, they did that at a season low, just 6 of 56 snaps, and most of it was at the very end when they were running the ball out. So it did turn to a 2 tight end grouping here. And the reason that's kind of important is because they used Devontae Adams like a goal line back, but they also used their tight ends down there a little bit like a goal line back. And now Colby Parkinson, who ran 53% of the routes in this one, also has scored in 3 straight games. So it's not like important, like you're not starting Colby Parkinson over anybody relevant, but just worth throwing onto your radar here. And I think that's it for week 12. Did I miss any injuries? You had T, you had Kamara, you had Baker. I think that's it. And again, go check out Fantasy Life, fantasylife.com. If you get any of their subscriptions, they have the utilization report in here. Most useful tool in fantasy football. Use code BDGE when you check out there, and you'll get 20% off your subscription. Tomorrow, I'll hit you with the waiver wire video, of course. Wednesday, I'm going to try to get the running back and wide receiver rankings out both on Wednesday because obviously we got 3 games for Thanksgiving. But unlikely to have any other videos for the rest of the week. Probably no Q&A or Q and Assault over the weekend because I'll be home with fams for Thanksgiving. But I'll see you a few times before then, all right? So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the button that looks like this, the thumbs up. The ratio is horrendously horrendous right now. 560 people in here and only 71 thumbs up. I take that personally. I take that disrespectfully. But I'm still going to give you smoochies and say goodbye. Smoochies. Mwah.